Welcome to Brazos Matters. I'm Victoria Taylor, Senior Content Contributor and Journalism major. Today I'm solo hosting this episode and I'm super excited for today's topic. As I've mentioned previously, I've spent the majority of my time as a student at Texas A&M as a member of the swim team. Throughout my time as a student athlete, I've definitely learned a lot about making sure I'm balancing everything on my plate between schoolwork, swim, and social life. Today, we're going to be talking to two of my former teammates from the Texas A&M swim team. I would like to introduce Giulia Goerigk and Sarah Lankford to KAMU Brazos Matters. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having us.
Good. I'm glad you guys are here. We're recording this just a few days before we walk the graduation stage, so what better way to close out our last chapter than to discuss our experiences together? Could you all first explain how you chose to attend Texas A&M? Sarah, we can start with you.
I started the recruiting process junior year of high school. I looked at a couple different schools and then committed here January of 2021. And I loved the team, loved the coaches, and was super excited to come here.
Okay, Giulia.
I also looked at a couple of schools, and for me it was mainly like I was looking for a school that felt like family since I'm so far away from home. And once I stepped on campus and I met our coaches, I knew I would want to come here, and yeah.
Okay, and I guess we should start and say, where are you guys from?
I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida.
I'm from Germany,
Okay.
Black Forest area.
So I'm from Kentucky, and we've all come, Giulia, you obviously have come the farthest, but we're all out of our homeland for college, which has been a good experience. So what was your guys' time like on the swim team? Sarah?
I loved it. I swam my freshman, sophomore year. I found my closest friends there. I'm still friends with them to this day, even though I'm not on the team anymore. I learned a lot about myself and don't regret anything that I've done over my time here.
Okay. Yeah, I know. We've definitely enjoyed our time. Giulia, what about you?
I can say that those 4 years have been the best of my life, or one of the best of my lives, because it was a kind of bit of a change for me. Coming from a club team in Germany, it was just a switch, but I really enjoyed it and I made a lot of friends. I actually roomed with Sarah my freshman year, so yeah.
Yeah, you guys are the OG roommates that we randomly got assigned our freshman year, but now me and Sarah live together, but we all hang out all the time still. So now, past swimming, tell us a little bit more about your time here. So what's your guys' major and how were classes throughout these 4 years? Giulia, you can go.
I'm an econ major with a minor in business, but I actually started out as a business major, and then after my freshman, halfway through sophomore year, I decided to switch to econ just because I felt like it was a better fit. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I was actually with Sarah in all my classes my freshman year, and sadly we don't have that many classes together anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a business major, focused in marketing. Our first 3 or 4 semesters we had almost every single class together, but I'll be graduating with a marketing degree and minor in sports management.
Okay, that's a lot. I mean, I'm doing obviously major in journalism, but sports management minor. So it's been fun to do all those. And I remember at the beginning of freshman year, everyone was struggling in econ, but you seem to be the best at it. So I guess it worked out that that's your major now.
Yeah, I feel like that was the class that decided that I want to be an econ major.
So how difficult did you guys find it to kind of balance that schoolwork and swim, especially when we first started in a new environment?
That first semester, I'd say, was a definite wake-up call between classes and then practice and making sure you're fueling, sleeping, you're still recruiting, you still have all the other things that come with being a student athlete, and then having a social life, those game days, you're going to practice and then getting ready in the locker room to get to go. So it's definitely a major change from high school, where you have your family supporting you and helping you, where you're more on your own. But it was I had a blast. I enjoyed it all.
Yeah, it was definitely a switch. Like coming from a German high school, I wasn't used to a lot of homework. Like we had exams and everything, but the homework was basically like optional half of the time. So like once you came home from school, you were done. And then my first semester in college, I couldn't even study for the exams because I had so much homework. But I remember calling my mom and I was like, it's so much. I don't know how to do it, but I figured it out in the end. So
I know that first semester, it was like we were booked and busy every single day, all day long, just adjusting to 20 hours a week of swim and then all the new classes with new majors, stuff we never took in high school. So
and I mean, like Sarah said, with all the recruiting stuff on the weekend the first semester when we were hosting and like we weren't really able to like get schoolwork done. We were just like basically all together the whole time.
Like if you have a recruit or if we're hosting that weekend, like we have recruits in town, like you're with them the whole time. Like they stay with you, you're with them 24/7. So if you have a big exam that Monday or Tuesday, like you're really not able to find time to study if you're hosting.
Yeah, so the beginning of our freshman year, this was definitely something new to us. Every fall semester, usually on the swim team, and I'm sure other sports, we would have to host groups of like 10 girls about 3 to 4 times for like a whole weekend. And so each girl would get assigned with one of us our freshman year, and we'd kind of show them around campus and try to recruit them to come to our school and be on the swim team. So that did take up a whole ton of our time, and we're already adjusting. So that was a lot. But moving on next, could you guys kind of explain your time growing up and swimming and what led you to wanting to be a swimmer at A&M?
Okay, so my sister, I have an older sister, and she kind of started swimming, so I spend a lot of time at the pool with my dad, just like watching her. And then at some point, my parents were just like, would you want to start too? And that's basically how I became a swimmer. And then from there on, I was successful and I wanted to keep going. So,
yeah. Growing up on the water, like everyone learns to swim at a really young age. And I was always like not awful. So I was offered a spot to start like club swimming at like the age of 8. And I was like, I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. and getting in the water. I refused. And then a couple years later, I was like, oh, I'm not bad. Let's try it out. Like my middle school had like a swim team where you can compete for your middle school. And I was like, I want to do it. And I tried it. I wasn't super awful at it, so I just stuck with it.
Clearly, you got here, so. I can kind of relate to that. I feel like I definitely started just doing summer swim, and then I feel like it always kind of leads to, oh, we're pretty decent at it, so we better commit to it because then we could end up going to college, which we all did. But when did you guys kind of realize that you wanted to swim in college and really fully commit to making your life about swimming?
I'd say, like, it was never even on my radar. I never even thought I was, like, that good or had the possibility to be that good. And then, kids a couple grades above me started going through the recruiting process and all this, and they're like, you're going to be starting this soon. Where do you want to go? And I was like, I'm not going to swim in college. Like, I'm not, like, it just wasn't even on my radar of something to think about. And then, like, around, like, right before COVID, everyone was like, you need to start thinking about this and, like, putting it on my radar. And then around that time is when I was like, oh, maybe I could do this.
Yeah, it was crazy, like, doing recruiting during COVID. But, Giulia, when did you kind of really commit?
It was kind of different for me. Like, I took it year by year, but I didn't know until last minute, basically, that I wanted to come to the U.S. and go to a college here. And then basically my last year, my second to last year of high school, I started talking to, like, some of the U.S. coaches, and then I kind of just went through the process, and then I came here, I guess.
So in Germany, do lots of maybe your former teammates, did they go to the U.S. and that kind of put it on your radar?
Yeah, in Germany, it's a little bit different. Like, combining college and sport is harder, I would say. Like, and that's why a lot of other or, like, a lot of friends of mine went to the US to go and get a degree because that's more difficult at home. And I kind of like had the thought in my head, but it's kind of a big step to go like to a different continent. And
Yeah, I couldn't
I
imagine.
didn't really think about it. And then I was like, okay, I got to start like having a plan now.
So, Julia, first, being from Germany, what would you say are some of the cultural shocks you had when you first moved to the US?
Okay, freshman year, I did not have a car in Texas. So Sarah was driving me around everywhere. Like, we drove to morning practice together. We went grocery shopping together. We did everything together because I needed someone. And to this day, I'm still very thankful. But there was like a big switch from home because at home you could walk everywhere. And I mean, I had a car and I had like the support of my parents, but now they are like so far away and I just got to figure everything out on my own. And that was, I think, the biggest switch. And then just like minor things like what y'all are eating for breakfast or just like the food, I would say. And then obviously the language at first. I had English in high school, but like you don't speak it every single day. So you can listen to it, you understand, but like the talking itself, and then going to classes and listening to it the whole day was kind of exhausting at first. But those were like the main things.
I can't imagine. And in our class coming in, we had 3 international students, and they've said similar things. Like one girl from Turkey, like she was having her thoughts in Turkey, but she was having to listen to English all day long. And it was just a lot. I couldn't imagine all the different languages going back and forth.
Like to this day, when I call my parents and they're speaking in German to me and then I switch, for example, talking to her freshman year, and it's still now like that. Sometimes there's just like words missing or like when I'm typing in German and someone responds in English, I'm like really confused.
Yeah. And funny story I'm thinking about, since you were mentioning how you don't have a car, Julia did have a bike. And one time she was biking back to our apartment complex, and I was driving and I did not see this bike and I nearly hit her with my car.
It was a neon yellow bike, just to mention
So I guess I missed that. But we laughed about it later. But Sarah, did you notice any cultural differences just from Florida? Like, what was something different or shocking to you being here?
Where I'm from in Florida is not southern at all, and here is very southern, so just like the typical southern cultural shift and difference, I'd say. But beyond that, like I knew about the SEC culture, like all my friends go to University of Florida, so like none of that was real, like the SEC school idea. But I would just say the idea of Texas A&M itself, like between the traditions, the culture, like everybody saying howdy to you the like moment I stepped on campus. Like I don't have people coming up and saying hi, how are you, and meaning it. Like when I was like, wow, like what do they want from me? But they're all just so genuine and nice. So it was definitely something I had to get used to, and like very different from when I'm back home. Like no one's holding the door for you or like saying hi or just like always smiling.
I feel like I can relate to that too. And I definitely am from more of a southern area, but I was close by the University of Kentucky, which is also an SEC school. But I feel like this is so much more. Obviously, everyone says it's a cult, but you don't understand it unless you're in it. So I think it's a good cult if we're going to classify it as that. And I just enjoy all the traditions because I know the University of Kentucky does not have that for sure. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Victoria Taylor, and our guests today are Giulia Goerigk and Sarah Lankford, 2 former Texas A&M student athletes from the swim team, and we're talking about our experiences as graduating seniors who had a different college experience than most. So if we were going to look back, what are some things you would like your freshman year self to know now?
Okay, I came in super scared, and I was like, if I'm not gonna like it, I'm gonna go back home to Germany. And now looking back, I'm really glad that I took that step, and I would tell myself, hey, just enjoy every single minute of your time here, because honestly, those 4 years right now, they didn't feel like 4 years. Like, sometimes I still feel like a freshman, and just like soaking it all in, every meet, every home game, at the beginning, I didn't understand any football, okay? So, like, and throughout the years, I've learned, but, like, just soaking it all in, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. Like, it does go by so quickly. Like, I cannot believe we're graduating this week. Like, to think, like, as a freshman, how fast it would go. You'd always hear from, like, seniors, fifth years, juniors, like, oh, it goes by so quick. Like, thinking of it like, oh, I'm never going to get my ring. That's so far away. To now, like, I've had my ring for a while now, and, like, I'm about to walk the stage. So, like, take advantage of everything is something I feel like we heard a lot as freshmen. But I was like, oh, like thinking, like, oh, like, we'll do everything. Like, when did we have time to do any of extra things? But looking back, like, if I were to do my whole college experience over again, I would, like, join as many clubs as possible. Like, just try to, like, get to know people, because everyone here is so phenomenal. And, like, you can't regret, like, joining a club or doing something
I know.
like that.
I definitely agree. I feel like it's always the seniors saying it flies by, and I'm always like, yes, I know, but I still have 3 years, or I still have 2 years. And then now the 2 years are here, and we're graduating. But the joining the clubs thing, I wish that we had the opportunity, or like it was more presented to us early on. I feel like as a student athlete, especially freshman year, they're always like, just try to survive. And it's never emphasized as like, you guys should go and join this. And I do think the beginning of freshman year, it might be a little too much, but now, like, end of senior year, I'm like, well, I did have time to do these extracurriculars if I just make it work. But at the time, not happening. But now, yes, I agree. So what is something you would have changed or done differently throughout your time, Sarah?
Like I said, like, I probably wish, like, I would have joined either a flow or a different org they have here on campus. Like, coming in, I only really knew of sororities, and Rush Week was, like, a big thing. Like, the Alabama Rush was huge when we were freshmen. I was like, there's no way I am doing that.
We're like, this is not our vibe.
That is not, like, we do not have the time to do Rush and then, like, come start swimming. Like, it just wasn't in the books for us. But, like, I didn't even know about orgs or flows or all the different things campus had to offer until a lot later. And then I felt like it was so hard. Like, I would go and, like, apply for these orgs and their version of Rush. And I'm, like, here as a sophomore, junior against all these, like, incoming freshmen. So, like, that was something, like, when I was going through the process, I was like, I know I would have been busy, but I wish I just started, like, and did it that first semester when we were already crazy busy. But it would have made it, like, a lot more, and then I could have built more connections throughout my time here.
Yeah, very true. Okay, Giulia.
I totally agree with, like, the orgs thing. Like you said, we were told, like, you gotta survive freshman year. Like, but honestly, that's true. Freshman year, we went from practice to, what was that called that we had after practice? Like the hour of study hall or something.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, we had, like, required stuff that we had to attend. So there was not much time of, like, going to orgs, meeting other people. That's also one thing that I realized. I have a lot of, like, people that were on the swim team or, like, athletes as friends. But since I was never able to join an org, or, like, I ran to classes, or sometimes we had excused absences, half the time we didn't even go to class. So, like, it's harder to make those friends there, I would say. And then after practice, you're kind of just like, I'm so tired. I just want to, like, go and lay in bed. So I think that would be one thing that I would switch, like, trying to get more involved in other things outside of swimming.
Yes. So obviously swimming took up a lot of our time, but what would you say was the hardest part, being, like, at the practices, at the meets? What was the most mentally challenging thing?
Waking up in the morning. I would wait every morning because I knew I would hear her in the living room, and that would mean I had to wake up to get to practice. So I would snooze my alarm until I heard her in the living room, and I knew it was my time to get up so that I could drive her to practice every morning.
I know, like, she fully knew I would wake her up, so sometimes I would hear her alarm go off, but nothing would happen, right? She would just snooze it. And then at some point I had to go inside and be like, okay, we gotta go now, right? Because she was my drive to practice.
Yeah.
We were never late.
No, we weren't, but I got kind of stressed because I like to get there early, you know?
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to bike because I knew I could drive with her.
Oh, yeah.
She might
And
be
you
hit.
might have to watch out for me flying over to practice.
But yeah, for me, it was like sometimes we had 7 a.m. practice, but sometimes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we had 6 a.m. And that hour made a big difference. Like,
for sure.
You wouldn't think so, but that extra hour of sleep in the morning, that was really it.
I feel like what got me was it's not just the waking up, it's the knowing you're jumping in a pool.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if we were just going to do weights or something, it would be much better. But just waking up and being like, okay, in 30 minutes from now, I'm going to be in a pool.
Yeah.
Constantly
and, like, that
moving.
freezing cold water.
And sometimes the pool temperature just switches. Like, sometimes you think you jump in cold water, and then it's actually warmer than you think. But then sometimes it's the complete opposite, and you're going to hate it.
Yeah. It definitely wakes you up.
Yeah.
So what are some things you're going to miss most about being in College Station, just as a student or maybe just in the community?
I think just like the living with my friends, because you come home, you can like debrief the day, or you can have dinner together at Sin. Like, we have all those.
That's our dining hall.
Oh yeah, that's the student athlete dining hall, and we just sit after practice, and there might have been a rough practice, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that was awful. Like, you're gonna talk to your friends, and I feel like leaving College Station, you're not really gonna have that anymore, because everyone is gonna be like doing their job, internships, or like, and we're all in different places. So I feel like I'm gonna miss that part the most.
I definitely miss now, even just 2 months removed, but the complaining and just the trauma bond together is just, I feel like it's very unique, but I love it. So, Sarah, what are you going to miss the most?
It's got to be the people, like just having like us as roommates, or when we live together, even though we don't live together now, like you just live right down the street, and like you're never going to be able to just like on like a random Wednesday afternoon be like, oh, hey, let's go do this, or like just like have your friends at your disposal so easily to just go do like the dumbest thing, like whether you're just like going on like a Sonic run or something so simple. And like that's what I feel like I'm gonna miss the most, especially as I like transition to like the work life.
I know, I'm definitely holding these moments close, but just we have a countdown on our whiteboard at home, and it's just every day it's just closer and closer to graduation, so that's tough. But how do you guys think these past 4 years have prepared you for the future, Sarah?
I think like I have come out like a completely different person, like so much better. I hope, but
I think you have, for sure.
Like I feel so much more prepared for like anything. Like I'm excited to go start working, and just like what I've learned here, like beyond classes, like who A&M builds as a person, and like their like relish, like respect, excellence, loyalty, leadership, all of it are things that I want to take into like the real world, and I'm excited to like implement into my own life without having A&M there to like constantly remind you of it. But it's something I looked for in a school, and I'm so happy that I came here.
I know. I feel like we've definitely found all the core values that A&M just rubs off on every student. So, Giulia, how do you think it's prepared you?
I definitely became more independent, like living so far away. I remember, like, I think it was my sophomore year, so I finally got a car. And then my car had a flat tire. And then at home, I would call my dad and be like, okay, you got to help me, like, or like, but it was like in the middle of the night in Germany, so like there was not much that I could do. I didn't want to wake them up, so I had to like figure it out. And thankfully I have all my friends who were able to help me, but like in those situations, I was able to figure it out on my own. And then just like Sarah said, like the core values that A&M teaches you, like with selfless service, for example. Like I remember us as a group, we did like selfless service as part of the swimming team, and just like giving back the community is a big thing that I learned here that I wasn't really aware of before, and that I'm definitely like gonna try to bring in like my future life.
Okay, so what are your guys' upcoming plans?
I will be moving to Austin, and I'm going to be working in cybersecurity sales starting this summer.
Are you excited, nervous?
I'm excited, I'm nervous. I'm not from Texas. I don't know anyone in Austin, really. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited for what
Yeah.
it holds.
That just shows our independence that we've gained from college too. So Julia, what are your upcoming plans?
I'm actually gonna go home closer to my family again, Germany, and I'm gonna do an internship starting in fall, and I'm gonna keep swimming. Actually, it's like a cooperation between swimming and the internship. So
That'll be really good. And I'm glad that you're going to be still swimming, so I have someone to stalk their results and understand and just know everything. So now just a few quick questions. So I've already shared that I had some superstitions before swimming. So I would do like 7 jumps before every one of my races. I would eat 3 Sour Patch watermelon. And actually, when I was on the block, I would do an eye roll before they said take your mark. So
I never knew about that.
Yeah,
I
you
knew
never
about
told
the
us that.
gummies.
So what are your guys's, maybe did you have any superstitions?
I honestly don't.
You just
Like,
went and did it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I would freak myself out because what if I would forget doing one of those things? Like,
That's true.
what if I run out of gummies? Like, and then I just had 2 of those Sour Patch thingies that you were eating, right?
I was always prepared. It never happened.
No, nothing.
No.
That's probably better for the
Well,
mind.
I made sure that my goggles are like on tight, that they wouldn't fall off, but I don't know if like,
Yeah.
I-
That's fair.
Yeah. I never had anything. I would
Guys,
swim.
am I the crazy one?
I would swim distance events. So like if I was in a longer event, I'd always like wear 2 caps to make sure my goggles don't fall off. Like I feel like every
Yeah.
distance swimmer had that like event where you lose your cap and goggles and can't see anything. So if that's superstitious, but I think that was just being proactive.
I remember when I was super young, I would always eat ice cream the night before the meet because I told myself that would help me, but I
Yeah.
kind of stopped doing that. But that's the only thing that I
I
can
know.
think
The
of.
nutritionist would be like, this does not help you. But it does. It helps the mind.
Yeah.
Maybe. So lastly, just share what events you guys swam.
I swam the 200 free, like the 500 free, and then more distance events if they needed me.
I swam 200 IM, 400 IM, and whatever the coaches
Anything.
would actually put me in.
Well, thank you guys so much. I had a blast doing this interview with you guys. So, Brazos Matters is a production of Aggie Lands Public Radio, 90.9 KAMU FM, a member of Texas A&M University's Division of Community Engagement. Our show is engineered and edited by Matt Dittman. All Brazos Matters episodes are available on YouTube and on podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple, iHeart, and Amazon. Also on the NPR app and the KAMU website. I would also like to thank Jay Sokol for all he has done with me throughout this semester, though he's not hosting this with me. But I've really enjoyed being his co-host here on Brazos Matters at KAMU. For KAMU, I'm Victoria Taylor. Thanks for watching and listening.